her 10th birthday party, the other kids cornered the girl and made fun of her. They called her a wild kid with no mom, pushing and teasing her, while another girl wearing a crown and a dress that should have been hers just sneered. The girl could only cry, saying over and over that her mom had promised to be there for her birthday. But what she didn't know was that at that exact moment, hundreds of miles away, her mother was waking up. After being in a coma for 3 long years, the powerful CEO, Lin Wei, opened her eyes. Her assistant was ecstatic, telling her that by some miracle, she had woken up on her daughter Yuyan's 10th birthday. But when her assistant showed her the live stream from the party at their house, Lin Wei's relief turned to horror. It wasn't her daughter celebrating. Instead, another woman was standing next to her husband, showing off another girl as the birthday princess. Staring at the screen, Lin Wei saw the custom-made dress she had designed for her own daughter being worn by this imposter. She felt a cold fury when she saw the woman was Li Qing, the daughter of their former nanny. She demanded to know where her own daughter Yuyan was. The horrible truth started to come out. Without hesitating, Lin Wei ordered to be discharged immediately so she could go home. Back in her country, her assistant gave her the devastating news. For the 3 years Lin Wei was in a coma, her husband and Li Qing had been having an affair, thinking she would never wake up. They had systematically taken over her life. The home security system had been destroyed on purpose. Her own parents had been sent away to an old house in the suburbs, completely cut off from the outside world. And her daughter Yuyan was forced to live like a servant in her own home, just a steady partner for the nanny's kid. Her husband, the man who swore to protect her and their family, didn't just betray her, he let outsiders run wild in their home and abuse their child. Looking at a picture of her beloved daughter, Lin Wei's heart broke, but her eyes burned with a new, unshakable determination. She swore that she would take back everything that was stolen from them. Stepping into the company she hadn't seen in 3 years, Lin Wei was immediately face to face with her husband, who looked totally shocked and scared. He called her his wife and asked how she could be back, but his words were a lie. What she didn't know was that just hours earlier, he was in the arms of his mistress, the nanny's daughter, Li Qing. When the news broke that Lin Wei was back, Li Qing panicked, terrified she would be exposed, but the husband coldly told her to move out for a while, assuring her that their 3-year plan to take over the company was still on track. He promised that even if Lin Wei was awake, they already had control of the company's core business and she was powerless. Back in the office, he played the part of the loving husband, claiming that he had prayed for her recovery every single day. He complained about how hard he had worked, managing the huge company all by himself, saying his hair had turned gray from the stress. But Lin Wei wasn't fooled. Her eyes landed on the obvious hickey on his neck and the smell of another woman's perfume clinging to him. When she returned to her own home, the truth of his betrayal became painfully clear. She found her daughter Yuyan standing alone, her small hands and neck covered in ugly bruises. When the girl saw her mother, she could only cry out "Mommy" before running into her arms. As Lin Wei held her trembling child, her husband and a nanny, Li Shen, rushed in. Her husband ordered the nanny to take Yuyan upstairs, but Lin Wei blocked their way. This was her home, and she was done letting outsiders run it. She fired the nanny on the spot. Finally facing her husband, she held up a picture of the imposter's kid wearing the custom birthday dress. He lied, claiming that the girls were just sharing, but Lin Wei cut him off. She declared that she would be taking over their daughter's education from now on and would be taking her to school the next day. Another little girl called out from the balcony, asking her father where her mother was, and in that moment Lin Wei knew her nightmare was real. Her husband immediately lied, claiming the child was just a goddaughter he had taken in. But what she didn't know was that he had spent the last 3 years building a new family while she lay in a coma. Just moments before, he had tried to stop her from taking their own daughter Yuyan to school, insisting that she was too weak to go. He even manipulated the scared little Yuyan into saying that she wanted him to take her instead, in a desperate attempt to keep his lies hidden. The appearance of this second child, Fire, proved his betrayal. When Lin Wei led her bruised daughter upstairs to her real bedroom, she found it had been completely taken over by the imposter. The nanny, Li Shen, rushed in, lying that the two girls had happily swapped rooms. Lin Wei saw through the lie immediately. She ordered the nanny to clear out everything that wasn't her daughter's, then pulled Yuyan close, promising to sleep with her to keep her safe. At the school's awards ceremony, another woman stood on stage, accepting the Excellent Parent Award in her place. When her daughter Yuyan stood up and said that her mother was the real president of the Lin Group, the woman and her own child, Fair, just laughed. They made fun of Yuyan, calling her the daughter of a nanny and a liar. But they had no idea the real president had just woken from a coma. Her first move was to review the newly restored home security footage. She watched in horror as a fancy birthday party, meant for her daughter, turned into a horrible scene. Yuyan was cornered by other children and yelled at and threatened by the housekeeper who was supposed to protect her. The mistress's daughter, Fair, then offered Yuyan a piece of cake only to drop it on the floor on purpose, demanding that Yuyan eat it like a dog as the adults looked on and smiled. Seeing her child kneel in humiliation, the mother's heart broke, and she swore to make them all pay. The next morning, she stood on her balcony and watched her husband leave with both children. She made a single phone call. She told them to start the plan. Moments later, her husband's car was hit by a woman on a tricycle in a carefully planned accident. Trapped, he was forced to call his mistress Faye's mother, who showed up in a yellow sports car to pick up the children, exposing their affair. Back at the school ceremony, as the teacher was about to punish Yuyan for her outburst, the door swung open. The real president of the Lin Group walked in with her assistants on either side. She looked at the woman on stage and calmly asked who exactly the nanny's daughter was. Lin Wei's question of who exactly the nanny's daughter was met with sneers from the woman in the designer dress, while the other parents in the classroom backed her up, calling the newcomer a trash picker and a charity case. They told her to get out, but the woman Lin Wei just smiled. She knew that after 3 years in a coma, she'd woken up to find her husband had replaced her with this woman, who now lived in her house and claimed to be her child's mother. The mistress, Li Qing, was so confident in her position that she even told Lin Wei it was useless, even if her comatose wife were to wake up. But Lin Wei knew the truth. She wasn't just a mother. She was Su Yanhong, the chairwoman of the school's entire board of directors. As the other parents demanded she be thrown out, Li Qing smirked and called the principal to deal with the troublemaker. When Principal Wang arrived, he was furious, demanding to know who dared to cause trouble. But the moment he saw Lin Wei, his face turned pale. He instantly recognized her not as a nanny, but as his boss. He stammered a respectful, "Director Su." Bowing as he did so, Lin Wei simply handed him her old business card. The principal's shock confirmed who she was to everyone in the room. The parents who had been acting so smug moments before were now shaking in fear. Li Qing was stunned into silence, realizing her entire world was collapsing. As her assistants moved to throw the imposters out, Faye threw a backpack at Yuyan in a final act of spite. But this time, her mother was there to protect her. She held her daughter close and told her not to be afraid. She promised that from now on, no one would ever bully her again. As the woman's husband and his mistress lay in bed, they laughed about their success. For 3 years, while the real president was in a coma, they had been secretly draining the company's money, thinking she was now just a powerless puppet. But they had no idea she had already woken up and was at their daughter's school. Tried calling the school's mysterious chairwoman Xu Yanhong, but the call wouldn't go through. This only made the mistress and the school principal more arrogant. The principal then called the chairwoman himself to report the trouble, only to get a furious slap in the face. The chairwoman revealed that the business card Lin Wei showed him was one of a kind, a gift she had personally given, proving Lin Wei was the true person in power. Back at home, Lin Wei confronted the cruel housekeeper who had served the family for over 20 years. After seeing how her daughter flinched in fear, Lin Wei knew the truth. She fired the housekeeper on the spot, giving her a year's salary and telling her to leave forever and enjoy her family life with her own daughter and granddaughter. The housekeeper desperately tried to manipulate the little girl one last time, but the child, finally safe, turned her back. As the housekeeper was thrown out, Lin Wei called her assistant, ordering a full investigation into every single thing the housekeeper had done to her daughter over the past 3 years. Meanwhile, the cheating husband ignored a call from his wife. As he and his mistress hugged, confident they had won, the phone on the bed silently recorded their entire treacherous conversation, capturing every word of their plot. Just as she called her husband, she overheard his mistress on the line, plotting to throw her and her young daughter out of their own home. The next second, the man was on the phone with his wife, sweetly asking when she would be home for dinner. She told him that they had already eaten and hung up, immediately asking her assistant to track the mistress, Li Qing. It turned out that just 10 minutes after she left, the mistress had gone into her house. When she demanded the security footage, she learned the shocking truth. The cameras had been messed with, and the bedroom footage was completely gone. But when she returned home, her own daughter exposed his lie, pointing to a red mark on his neck. He quickly claimed it was a mosquito bite from watering the plants, a chore he had never done before. The housekeeper immediately covered for him, saying that he was just so excited for his wife's return that he personally tidied up the house. As she questioned his story, the chandelier above them started to flicker. Just then, his phone rang. It was his mistress, getting impatient waiting for him at a hotel. The husband lied about a sudden business meeting with a client and rushed out the door. He told his mistress to be patient, admitting that he was worried his wife suspected something and that they needed to speed up their plan. It turned out their scheme was bigger than just taking over the house. They were after her entire company. He revealed his plan to buy out the company's financially struggling shareholders at a price just high enough for them to accept, which would let him seize total control. What he didn't know was that his wife was now one step ahead, playing along as she plotted her own revenge. The husband and his mistress offered a shareholder 20% above market price for her shares, but she immediately said no.